continue to change time zones? Or even if you don't change time zones, what about the people who do shift work, like doctors and nurses, or even factory workers, or even if you're working at any job? Now that we have this 24-hour day society, people are often working the graveyard shift, and they're shifting their days back and forth and back and forth. That's just as bad, if not worse, than jet lag. As a matter of fact, in the Nurses' Health Study, it was looked at these nurses that have often do shift work. There's been a higher incidence of breast cancer in the women who are doing more shift work. And that doesn't just, they just studied in nurses, but I'm sure it applies to all others as well. So what happens is that, again, these two effects have the same effect on the body and your mind. That the lack of sleep increases the stress that you deal with, and the excessive stress affects your sleep, or the quality of it at least, not just the quantity. So what happens is all these different hormones that are throughout your body, mostly in the brain, are affected. Melatonin is the master hormone. That gets affected. Melatonin's release affects the release of all these other hormones and the cascade of how these all work. Again, you need to have some cortisol, but excessive cortisol is a problem. Dopamine and serotonin are the mood hormones. DHEA is a precursor hormone, but in and of itself, DHEA is needed to help keep your cells youthful and keep them going. DHEA is produced by your adrenal glands, but it's mostly produced, or not mostly, but your brain cells produce DHEA in and of itself. Growth hormone is secreted by the hypothalamus, or the pituitary gland. The growth and glucagon cytokines are released, especially when there's inflammation. So that will cause some problems. So anyway, you can see that all these get affected. All these hormones, insulin resistance occurs, so that becomes a problem. Well, growth hormone, we talked about this. Some of you know it as HGH, human growth hormone, and yes, that's the hormone that many athletes are injecting. The purpose they're injecting it is because it, through insulin growth factor 1, it causes more building up of the muscles in your bones. You will get bigger because, and that's why it's called growth hormone. It stimulates growth of the tissues. So one, the human growth hormone, which you're humans, so you have the human growth hormone. It's released as you grow, and it will get you to full size, full stature. Once you hit full stature, the growth hormone continues to be released to help you to burn off calories, to burn off fat, to burn off excessive sugar, to help feed you and strengthen your muscles and your bones. But as we age, that can decline. But we can decline it faster. You don't have to wait to go through aging before to decrease your growth hormone. You can do that all on your own. And I'll show you how to decrease your growth hormone. And you're saying, well, Dr. McNamara, why would we want to decrease your growth hormone? Well, you don't. That's what I'm saying, but many of you already are, including I go through this as well. That's why I give this presentation, because I experienced it. But I'm not suggesting that anybody go out there and inject themselves with growth hormone, but I do suggest that you can boost up your own growth hormone levels through natural means, and that includes sleep and supplementation. So again, the growth hormone, what it does, it helps burn off fat. That's a good thing. This happens when you sleep. The growth hormone is mostly released when you sleep. And so therefore, if you're not getting enough sleep, you won't be able to burn off the fat very well. And growth hormone goes to shrink fat cells, something that I think that most of us would like. Also, it reduces the liver uptake of the sugar, and promotes the creation of glucose so it can be burned off, so don't store it so much. And then also, it builds and strengthens muscles, as I said, and we want bone mineralization, but we also need supplements to do this. We need the calcium, the magnesium, the boron, the silicon, the vitamin K, the things that we talked through and we talked about in our last present webinars on the optimizers. We talked about the active calcium. It strengthens our immune system, and we know that. When growth hormone levels decrease, then the immune system is not as strong, and illnesses can ensue. How about this? You ever saw somebody that does not, you can tell they haven't slept because their face is droopy, their skin tone's off, it can be blotchy, it can be darkened circles underneath the eye, and then they're kind of just sagging. If they get a good night's sleep, the growth hormone is released, and all of a sudden you have tighter skin, better looking skin, glowing skin. Of course, for skin maintenance to its optimum, besides using the sauna supplements, we have this great Sansei skincare line that USANA produces with non-toxic preservatives. And so these are just some of the minor things. It may not be a minor thing to you, but sex drive is very important. Helps keep relationships intact. It can be the glue. It is a glue in relationship to have the sex drive there. And so if somebody's stressed out, their sex drive goes, cortisol levels rise, growth hormone levels fall, serotonin, dopamine levels fall, and of course the sex drive goes away, and that can be a very damaging thing to a relationship. All right, so how does this all cycle work? If we look at a normal sleep pattern, consider this white line is the difference between your brain being, it's just a representation of your brain being awake above the white line and your brain being asleep below the white line. So at night, about an hour after light stops hitting the back of your retina, that means you close your eyes, it's dark now, then melatonin is secreted from the pineal gland. The purpose of melatonin is to drive your brain into the deeper stages of sleep. You get it going into from the alpha state, which is wake state, to the beta state, which is beta state is wake state, to the alpha state, which is kind of a mellowed out, relaxed state, and then to take it from that alpha state to go into theta, the dream state sleep, the REM, that's rapid eye movement sleep, and then down into the delta sleep stages. So, and what studies have shown is that we need to have at least 4 dream state cycles, rapid eye movement cycles, every night for optimal restoration of sleep, for optimal restoration of hormones such as serotonin and dopamine, and for the cortisol levels to rise the next day, DHEA, for optimal health. 4 dream state cycles every night. Well, studies have shown it takes so long to get into dream state sleep, so long that you had during dream state sleep, so long between it, and your brain waves, and you come up a little bit out of deeper sleep and then back into it. When you look at this, you had all this time, it takes 8 hours. So 8 hours is the average for most people to get adequate sleep time. But the important thing is you can fall asleep, but if you don't go down into that deep dream state sleep, then it's not adequate restorative sleep, because then when you go into the deepest stages of sleep, the delta sleep, that's when growth hormone is released. Growth hormone will be past that dream state sleep and into the delta stages. Growth hormone is what you want to have released to help keep your body healthy, to keep your heart healthy, your insulin factors healthy, to keep burning off the weight, to help restore your serotonin and dopamine, because all these serotonin and dopamine hormones. So then that happens the next day is, as the morning comes up, then because melatonin has been secreted, because it's affected the hypothalamus and the pituitary glands, it also affects then the adrenal glands, and so cortisol is released, and it's elevated during the morning. And it's supposed to be, because that allows you to have more sugar to burn off, to have more energy, and your DHEA rises. That's normal. This is great. This is what you want to have happen. But a couple things happen, let alone we talked about last week. We talked about how melatonin decreases as you age. After the age of 20, melatonin declines every single year after that. So as you get older, melatonin declines. And if melatonin declines, guess what? You're not going to get into these deeper stages of sleep. After 30, it's very noticeable. After 40, it affects your health. After 50, it's definitely the case. So often I suggest it that people, for sure, everyone after anybody, the melatonin there's no toxic effect to replacing melatonin supplements. Most melatonin supplements are made from animal glands, not USANA's. USANA's pure melatonin, not made from melatonin animal glands, but it's made from the pure sources from Switzerland to be identical to your melatonin that your body secretes, each tablet being 2 milligrams. And it helps restore that. When can you start taking melatonin? You can start taking it pretty much at any age. You can start taking it in your teens or 20s, but for sure, people should be taking it in the 30s, and for sure after 40, every single night. You can take it every night. You should take it every night, and it's beneficial to take it every night, and you don't get addicted or dependent upon melatonin, because melatonin will decline anyway. So it's one of those things that help keep your body going. So what about cortisol? I mentioned cortisol, as you saw, that it rises in the morning. So cortisol is produced